Good morning, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back to MTVTA. Really glad to have you guys here on this Monday. Just wanted to kind of bring you guys this quick slideshow that I wanted to do today for you guys. We're going to be going over some DeFi. What is it, and why should I care? For all those who don't know, I'm Trent Manager. Welcome back to all my returning patrons and my new patrons and new viewers. Welcome. Really glad to have you guys here. Yeah, guys, this is going to be a short to medium to longer video. I really recommend you guys watch the whole thing. We got some really good points in here to cover and really gives some light to the other side as to, this ecosystem. There's a lot of things that are going on in terms of updates, protocols, more updates, ZK rollups, and so on. I know you guys might not know what all that means, but essentially, if you own Ethereum or you are very happy about Ethereum, you should definitely care about DeFi as this continues to move forward. So not to waste any more time, guys, it's gonna be a little bit longer video, so let's just hop right into it. So what is DeFi and why should I care? Introduction to DeFi. What is DeFi? Examples to follow: borrowing and lending, such as AVEE and BlockFi. BlockFi is a centralized exchange for decentralized finance, so it kind of defeats the purpose, but we're going to cover that a little bit later. BlockFi is still great, more of a simpler way of doing things. That some of these ways can get a little bit not lucrative, but pretty complex in terms of getting them done. But also, what is yield farming? And we're going to talk about some passive income generation you can get from staking and using these other cryptocurrencies. DeFi allows peer-to-peer borrowing and lending and the transfer of money, not through a financial institution, but through a financial intermediary, but through smart contracts and code. So basically just taking out the middleman. Anything you do in traditional finance can be moved over to decentralized finance. In most cases, of course, we're still an evolving ecosystem, but it's moving quite quickly. Example of section 1 of lending and borrowing. So removing banks and replacing it with protocols such as AVEE for DeFi and the largest borrowing and lending protocol. So as we see here, we see our little mock-up sketch that we have here. So we have our borrows, we have our loan interest paid. Let's take AVEE out there just for a second, just to get the full magnitude. We have our bank and our savings and our savers. So basically what we would just do is take out that middleman bank, implement something like AVEE. We're going to go into AVEE's site here just in a couple slides and kind of see how it works. Just taking out the intermediary middleman, so basically giving you the free interaction to be your own financial institution. So can't tell you how many times, just to kind of get personal for a sec, because I know it's a lot easier to relate. Can't tell you how many times I've had bank accounts frozen or couldn't move accounts. You guys probably as well as you as well, how you've had accounts, either you got to move money or, you have overdraft fees or, your bank just wants to overall hold your funds. I've had that happen countless times, and, it's your money. It's kind of crazy that, these guys can, you're using their bank, you're trusting them with your money. And then what do? They restrain you. They tell you no. They give you the runaround. Sometimes it's frustrating. It's very frustrating, especially when you need to get things done. And truly, what AVEE and what DeFi is aiming to accomplish is to make you yourself your own traditional bank. You control all of your finance. You do not need to have that third party step in to execute some of these actions, such as interest paid and loans and car payments and house payments and so on. So I know some of those features are not particularly available just yet, but you can kind of see the magnitude as to where a lot of this is heading in the future. So right now, the furthest that we have, I believe, with AVEE, so with collateral, I believe it goes up to about $20,000, if I do remember that right. But overall, this is just something that is for the people and really gives you that extra edge as to what you can and can't do. And there's no one you got to go plead and call and say if this is okay, because you worked hard for this money. This should be your guys, and you should do exactly what you want with it. So that's definitely just a kind of small breakdown of our visual learner here, of our depiction. And moving on to our next slide, what is AVEE and other DeFi lending and borrowing protocols? So AVEE is a borrowing and lending protocol built on the Ethereum blockchain. AVEE removes the middleman with smart contract usage, allowing anyone to truly govern their own finance, making their own bank, for themselves. So Compound is very similar to AVEE. There are multiple, competitors in this field. AVEE is just the biggest. Compound as well. I do own some AVEE as well. I do enjoy their overall platform, what they have going on. Compound has a very good rep as well. But overall, these are some really great protocols that have been around for years. I know this is something that, is new. And, how do I know if it's going to be here in a couple of years? How do I know it's making a stance? AVEE's got some great partnerships, and, they got tons, billions of dollars locked up in AVEE and Compound. DeFi spaces, we're going to hop into the DeFi Plus and see exactly how much is locked up just now. But there's a ton of money that goes through these lending protocols and these liquidity pools to show not only just trustworthiness, but also that people are taking collateral loans and using these loans to help themselves or help their family, or really just avoid that traditional finance loophole. Really moving into this next step of finance. So. And also moving on to our next slide, we're going to take a look at AVEE's interface. So AVEE only allows over-collateralized loans, deposits of $10,000. I use this for an example. So borrowing up to 8. So putting up collateral, I think you would only have to put 2 down for that 10K back. But then of course you would have the rates either for payback, or you would borrow against your collateral. I know that's kind of a big thing now. Instead of cashing out for that capital gains tax, is that you can borrow against your profits. So let's say you 5x your Ethereum position, and you would take a loan out for $25,000 or $30,000. So you're already up, of course, in profit, or you've cashed out, well over that. You're just borrowing against your asset so that you don't have to pay that capital gains tax, because when you cash out, that is a taxable event, or when you translute that to another currency. So if I went from ETH to USDC, or I'm sorry, from ETH to the dollar, actual, not USDC, so back into the bank account, that would be a taxable event. So that's a big thing that a lot of people are doing now, and I've thought about it, and as time goes on, that may be something I will definitely explore, just to kind of save yourself on tax. It just kind of helps you a good amount, guys. So hopping into AVEE's protocol real quick, we can kind of just see here, and we're going to go over how to set up this MetaMask. I just want to get this on the table for you guys so you guys can see. So running through the dashboard, I don't have any assets just locked up in AVEE. I don't use AVEE for my staking in my in my rewards platform. I got plenty more that we're going to go over that can do the same, if not better. There are plenty of competitors in this space. AVEE just has a lot locked down. So markets gives you over the overall markets rundown. Prices locked up for assets. Apologize for the camera, guys. We will definitely keep continuing. So we see the assets locked up, and we're going to go over to my dashboard. I don't have any locked up. So when you go to borrow, you can see the variable APY. Where you can borrow the asset, putting up collateral. Stable APY is still relevant. And going back over to AVEE's locked up, so market size. So right now we got about 12 billion locked up in AVEE protocols. That ranges from all assets, and we can pull up DeFi Plus as well, just so we can kind of get that out of the way as well. Move this over. DeFi Plus is great. It shows you overall value locked up. So we got about 67 billion locked up in DeFi Plus. Of course, we had a bit of some market issues. As you guys know, these past couple of weeks we haven't seen the performance we once saw back in May, but you can see obviously that we were up to about $88 billion, reaching up to close to that $100 billion mark, which is huge. DeFi Plus is great also, guys, just for scoping out competition. Curve Finance, other Dexes, Maker, lending platforms. AVEE, as you can see, still top dog. Compound not too far behind, but really going back to the interface. After I got just a little bit distracted here, so let's go right back into our AVEE protocol. Perfect. And so as you can see, based on collateral, you're available to borrow. So with all of these guys, you don't need any person to tell you that you can and can't do this. So if we were to do deposit, I don't have any DAI tokens right now or anything for deposit, but you can see kind of just how this dashboard lays out. And that's really what I wanted to explain to you guys, that a lot of this is possible, and this is happening every single day, from swapping to staking to governance. You can stake your AVEE for more passive income. Staking APR is 7.1%, which is phenomenal. I actually didn't know AVEE added this V2 staking here, so that's phenomenal. I'm going to look more into that and possibly look into exploring that. So we're going to hop back into our slide now, and we're going to continue our presentation, but wanted to get that in there and kind of show you guys, look at the AVEE interface, Compound as well. Here I totally forgot about Compound. Let's take a quick look. Compounds is very, very similar as well, giving you pretty much the same layout. I encourage you guys to go and really, do some research and dig and look at some of these because essentially, like I said, if you guys are interested in Ethereum and you think Ethereum's going to do well, then you are essentially longing DeFi, if we're being 100% honest, as DeFi, Ethereum, DeFi lives on Ethereum, as you guys may know or may not know. So just kind of wanted to get that out there and, get some gears turning for you guys. So awesome. Let's continue to our next slide. Our DeFi example 2, we're going to be going over DEXs, or decentralized exchanges. So the largest DEX is Uniswap. Uniswap is a DEX that allows users to swap an ERC20 token for another ERC20 token without the need of a centralized intermediary. So the cool thing about that is usually, how you swap assets. You guys may know if you guys haven't used Uniswap or been in cryptocurrency too much, but it's very common, that you have these DEX exchanges to where you can swap one currency for another, very easily, versus having to go to traditional finance or doing, banking services along there. You can swap, your dollar to euros or gold or anything like that, but usually you don't do that through your bank. You're going to do that through an exchange. But the decentralized part is what really excites people and gets people on that next step is that number one, of course, you don't need that third party coming in and seeing what you're doing and asking all these questions and maybe restricting you, but also it's very quick. Uniswap swaps take less than 10 minutes. It doesn't matter the amount of money you are doing. Of course, the fee will apply, gas fees will apply depending on the swap. But there will be no one there to tell you, hey, you can't do this. This is too much. There are technically no strings and no limits for you being able to come into these dexes and swap any currency that you need for the correct currency that you may want. So, and also moving on to the USD pool as to kind of how this liquidity works. I'm going to pull up Uniswap's site as well, just because I didn't think I had that up. So let's go to Uniswap's home and we can check out their interface. So V3 is coming here. Uniswap's great. I might have to connect my wallet once again just to show, but just to show you guys my interface, I already have my wallet connected for my Metamask, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do that Metamask as well towards the end of our section here. Just kind of a quick overview. So selecting your token, let's say you need to do ETH. Of course, select your token. We want to go to do something easy like USDC. Of course, you would enter that amount you have. So let's say say we had 2 ETH or not 200. Let's just do 2. And then it would give you the correct calculation to what asset and how much that would be exchanging. So of course, it gives you a nice information tab right here, liquidity provider fee, ETH route. It tells you from ETH to USDC to USDC, and then price impact. You're losing about 0.12%, which is nothing. Really compared in terms of swap. And I know the fees can be a little bit hectic. I know we saw that the past couple weeks and past couple months. How bad these Ethereum fees can be. And luckily for you guys, if you guys have been keeping up with the channel and been reading quite often and really seeing what's going on, is that we have scalability, lots of protocols and ZK rollups. All that really just means, guys, I don't want to confuse you with the developer terms, but all that really means is that we are getting better user experience for us all in terms of moving from a proof of work standpoint to a proof of stake, therefore just taking away the need for miners and eliminating that miner tip, and also scalability in general, just making it a lot easier for us to navigate in a basic user interface, as it's easier, when you have lots of funds to, not really to be too worried about $100 or $200 fee on your maybe $2,000 swap, versus the smaller guys or the people who may not be able to afford a ton of ETH or, don't have nearly as much or got in a bit later. It's a lot harder for them to come in here and transact, a $200 swap when their fees are $100, making your total like $350 instead of, what it should be, in scalability terms. So just definitely want to kind of lay that out there and, let you guys know that things can get a little crazy on the swaps, but, keep in term that, we're still moving forward with Uniswap is very heavily partnered with ETH and getting their V3 correct, and that's a big scalability roll up for them and just making the overall user experience just a lot better. So back to our PowerPoint and kind of just explaining the liquidity pools just for a second, as I did have this slide in here. So putting in USDC in the front end and pulling it out on the other end, you would receive an ETH token. What's the reward for this? Why would people want to throw liquidity in the liquidity pool in the first place? So liquidity provides and earns a 0.3 fee for all trades in proportional to the share of the pool fees are added to the pool. So acquiring real time can be claimed from withdrawing your liquidity. So what that means is that, for you providing liquidity to these liquidity pools, and the incentive to get people to come do this is that you will get rewarded. So 0.3% of the pool. So for example, I think I have this in the later slide as well, is that you would be able to provide liquidity, and let's say the pool at the time was 2 ETH and 2 ETH and 100 USDC. So let's say you had provided your liquidity to be in that pool, and then over time that liquidity pool had grown to 5 ETH and 20,000 USDC. Of course, it has to be a 50-50 even split in the pool to, that's how liquidity pools work. It's usually a 50-50 split of one asset, and we're going to continue explaining this, so don't worry if you're, not picking it up just yet. Therefore, you would put in one end and then you could receive out the back end. So you being in a liquidity pool, providing your liquidity, taking on that risk for other individuals, and as that liquidity pool grows, you will now have a certain stake in that liquidity pool. So now, as we moved from that 2 ETH from that to now that 5 ETH and 20,000 USDC in the liquidity pool, you would now own about 5 to 8% of the liquidity pool being rewarded in passive income, either when you move your liquidity out or overall just staying in the pool, you would start generating passive income. So hopefully that explained a little bit, and we will continue to do this as well. Awesome. Make sure we on the net. Okay, perfect. And also we're gonna talk about impermanent loss. So this is another one I just had to throw out there and kind of just explain, just kind of make it make sense. It might be a little bit confusing at first, but hopefully I'm gonna explain it, and you can walk out of here not too confused. So the opportunity cost for LPing, two assets liquidity pool, two assets in liquidity pool instead of just holding the two assets together. So that's what we were talking about earlier. Example price would be 1,000. So ETH, let's say ETH is $1,000, right now back in simpler times. So $1,000 for one ETH in USDC stablecoin always backs to $1. So liquidity pool requires one ETH and 1,000 USDC, therefore equaling, 1 ETH. USDC to join the LP, and that's the requirement for you to join the liquidity pool, just like we kind of gave the example. I was a little bit off, so I apologize about that. Pool has grown to, let's say now, 10 ETH. You now own 10% of that pool. So you have provided liquidity early enough to now have, 10,000 USDC and 50% of the liquidity pool between ETH and USDC. That does not mean you own 50% liquidity pool. That just means you now own close to 10% as you, provided your liquidity early, as that, has now grown into a bigger pool. Awesome. And then now we're going to move forward and kind of go over more impermanent loss. So understanding impermanent loss. Pairing two different assets together will always cause some form of imperial loss. So pairing two of the same assets will have little to no imperial loss. If exposed to imperial loss, you have those fees and rewards to make up for it in X movement of the asset price changes for imperial loss. So let me cover this real quick, because I know that definitely probably confused some of you guys. So pairing two assets will always cause some form of imperial loss. So let me put this in an example. So you having your dollar, and of course, as we know, with our reserve currency, our reserve currency of the world is the US dollar. So it is the most valuable compared to every other asset that is around the world in terms of, dollar wise versus gold and other commodities and precious metals. So really putting that into even bite-sized pieces is that any asset you compare is going to have some sort of impermanent loss. So Ethereum versus, a smaller coin like Chainlink is not going to be an even exchange every time to Ethereum, because that asset is superior. So there will always be some small drawbacks, as nothing will be equal. So you coming to want to trade me 2 ETH, for anything smaller coin, of course, I'm going to be getting more of that altcoin or that smaller coin from you, because it just it's not going to meet up with the number one experience, number two, overall functionality or value of that superior asset at the time. Of course, we know that this space is constantly shifting, and there will be projects that survive and will shock people that will continue to develop and continue killing it. But for the time being, in terms of standing your ground, Ethereum, BTC, top 2 right now, Binance Smart Chain at number 3, if I remember correctly, there will always be some sort of imperial loss. But to remove that from the equation and really don't focus on the imperial loss, if you're exposed, to imperial loss, you have fees and rewards to make up for that. So when we get into staking, you guys are going to see the magnitude later in this PowerPoint to see how some of these rewards versus their APYs of traditional finance, that imperial loss isn't even going to matter at certain points. You're making such great passive income per week or per month. You having I have this chart over here as well. So we're going to hop in that in a second. That it's not going to be as bad. So covering this picture chart over here is that this is going to be the price change. So when assets stay sideways, especially in cryptocurrency, it is a lot better to be in a liquidity pool. It's a lot better for income, passive income being a liquidity pool if your prices are not, mooning pretty much in a sense. So 1.5x price change, 0.6 loss. This is applying to imperial loss and permanent loss, by the way. So, and also 1.50x price change, you're 2%, and then it goes up so on as the asset keeps moving. And the reason for this is because, just like we talked about, that having those assets swap between each other, as they're moving such higher, as we saw the past coming months, Ethereum 4 monthly candle closes green, it's absolutely moving parabolic, is that this is something that liquidity pools don't like, or they don't like, but in terms of liquidity pools, they just don't sit well together when assets move hard, because people take their assets out, they move their assets, they don't want to keep them anymore, they want to trade them out, they want to cash out, and that's just how it is. There's a lot of volatility, coordinated with the markets and liquidity pools. So that's just definitely wanted to put out there and kind of just break down and kind of not have that scare you away, but have that kind of more of as an incentive to kind of just bring that into you guys. So we're gonna move on to our next one, and we're gonna go over to some pro. Ooh, I think I might have gone a little bit too far, guys. Whoops, so sorry. Perfect, awesome. And then we're gonna go over our last section, actually, in permanent loss part 2. So let's say, okay, yeah, this is actually the example. So let's say ETH Moon goes parabolic 20%. Price of ETH is now $4,000. USDC is still 1. If you had held $4,000, so 1 ETH plus the $1,000, $1,000 USDC equals 5,000. With LP, now you would have that 0.5 plus that 2,000 USDC now equals 4,000. So you would have an imperial loss of 1,000. So that does sound a lot. That's like, oh, dude, that doesn't even seem worth it. You know, like why would I do that instead of, you know, just holding the two assets? Now that exactly comes back to the point that we were talking about earlier. So it's easier to hold the two assets and not provide the liquidity pool, but you're missing out on that passive income. So the trade-off is hold two assets, the two assets that you have, so USDC and ETH, or not hold the two assets, put them in a liquidity pool and not have to worry about them and have them generate you passive income, but have the probability of volatility and possibly, you know, a major Imperial loss. But you're also earning passive income with you not doing anything. So so hold the asset and watch the markets do it that way. Just hold, or provide a liquidity pool, take on that extra risk and make passive income doing nothing while you're going out with your kid or you're at the grocery store while you're making money. So there you go. One or the other, it really works out good. We're gonna have more simpler at the end of this PowerPoint. It's going to be a lot simpler. You don't have to go through this whole liquidity pool, but I wanted to lay out and show you guys this whole aura of passive income and generation and just overall what you can do with DeFi. And it just makes me so excited because usually people who own Ethereum are not fully they don't fully understand DeFi. So it's a lot. There's a lot of things they're missing out on. It's like saying only 20% of the test, at first. So wanted to definitely get that out there for you guys and definitely give you guys some critical thinking to think about. And also, what's the catch? What are some cons? So to every yin, there is a yang. I'm going to list some disadvantages and some tips and tricks to avoid, as well as consider when navigating this decentralized finance space. So high yields such as 20% or above when you see with liquidity pools, as this yields may be higher, the consistency for short to medium term will eventually be reduced, either from competing farms or less liquidity inflow. So this is a big one, is that people will come around and they'll see these big liquidity pools, 60% APY, 100% APY. I've seen like 200% APY. Like, it's crazy. Some of these liquidity pools that people can develop these protocols on, and usually that these don't last super long. Just like chasing high dividend stocks. I have that in my I think I have that in my next bullet point, that usually when you chase high dividend stock, that means the dividend stock is not doing very well. So that it's hiring its dividend to make it appeal to more investors, so that more investors will come in and buy this, buy the share. So when you see a 9% dividend yield, that's not very good in terms of dividend, dividend portfolio allocation. You don't want anything too high of, per dividend company, but that is something that also applies to liquidity pools as well. So that when you see those crazy, I'd say anything above 20, of course, not financial advice. This is just my opinion, just from my experience, trial and error. I've been in liquidity pools. I am in liquidity pools, working on running my own protocol node right now. So we can, all of us can, stay together, which is super awesome. So I'll get the details on that together, but they do follow the same suit. But and also lower yields such as 8% are much more stable to maintain versus like I'm going to explain BlockFi for a second. USDC on stable coins all are consistent 8.6 APY, which is still amazing. And the biggest thing, guys, is not become greedy. Don't chase those crazy yields or like those crazy yield farms. Oh my gosh, 60% APY. They're just not going to last. It's very common. That the get rich, the greed in this market and the get rich quick is it's still imminent. It's something that, yes, we've seen plenty of people make their $400,000, $1 million, or $1,000,000 off Doge and all this other crazy stuff. But realistically, you can only get lucky so many times. And remember, guys, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you can keep. That's always something that I try to stress. It's not how much you make, because if you make $1.5 million, but you have a $500K house and 3 cars that are valued over $300,000, you only have you technically are in debt. Like, you technically have no money. So let's just put that in an example. Let's always remember, stay in your lane, stay focused. Just wanted to really get some just really wanted to throw that out there. And also gas fees, depending on the market condition fee, may be high to interact with these pools or transfer in the network. That's also another thing to remember, that usually if you see ETH doing well, when gas fees are doing when gas fees are a lot higher, and of course we're, like I said earlier in the video, we are moving slowly away. We do have still some time. I don't know an exact date. I know July, around July 15th to 24th is the EIP roll up, which is gonna be really big. So July time is a big time for us. But regardless, guys, we're gonna keep moving forward, and gas fees prevent the ecosystem network from being spammed, along with providing rewards to proof of work ETH miners for pushing your transaction through. For those who are new and may not understand why we have gas fees, it is meant to not for the network not to be spammed. No one's going to spam a network where you have to pay real money. And also, proof of work Ethereum miners need to be paid out for pushing their transaction through, and number one, for mining Ethereum, and also helping the ecosystem run back and forth. Awesome, guys. Just wanted to get those points out there for you guys and let you guys know. There's always yin to yangs. There's always pros and cons. Alrighty, top projects with staking rewards. This is the fun part. Now we get to see some passive income kind of roll out here. So this is not financial advice, guys. This is just something I'm throwing out for information for you guys to know. I think this is super important for you guys to know. Passive income is awesome. You sit there, you do nothing. All you do, buy and hold, put that in the staking pool or put that in whatever wallet you need, and you just watch back and let it stack. That's simply it as well. So you can see how good some of these APYs are, and these are relatively solid. These are solid APYs as well. These are not usually fluctuating or changing. So current APYs for ADA about 5%. I'm going off the Atomic wallet, by the way. And for anyone who does want to take a look at this, this is the wallet I do use. I will pull it up for you guys just shortly, just because we're already on the are already on the wallet. So this is something cool, guys. So they have the staking section here, and this is just something I'm going to go over real quick. This is where I got the prices from, and I do stake some in here. I stake multiple places. I also say don't have your eggs in one basket. Please don't put all your money in an exchange and leave it there. Like, please spread out all your eggs in one basket, because it's so easy, as you guys have seen in the past, that we've seen not only exchanges, centralized crypto exchanges such as Coinbase Pro, Voyager, Binance, all those guys, when things get hot, they go out. We've noticed where you can't log in and buy the dips. Just even a couple weeks ago when things were falling like crazy, people were cashing out. A lot of people couldn't even get in to sell their assets and or buy, the dip that they were having. So this is also important carrying over to DeFi, is that these dexes and these centralized exchanges, these don't go down. These aren't a single point of failure like a lot of these centralized exchanges are. I call them centralized exchanges because they are centralized exchanges, those crypto, Coinbase and all that. You guys know what I mean. I don't want to give that headache to you guys, but you guys understand. But going back to reverting to the main point is that you see that's a single point of failure, and that when those servers go out, you can't even log in, you can't do anything. You are trusting those guys with your full incentive of your equity, and when they're out, you're out. You can't do anything. But versus having something like this, or using Uniswap or using Metamask, for example, having your funds spread out to where you can buy no matter what, is super important. And also, having some USDC coins, some stable coins on side, just like having chips at the poker table, are also really, really good as well. Being able to get you back in there quick, because I can't tell you how often it is that people will wait, to buy the dip, or wait, to put money in, and the next thing you gotta wait for your bank to transfer, because those take 3 or 4 days to clear, depending if you have instant transfer or not. But I'm throwing all these out here, guys, just to give you some some critical thinking skills, and let you guys think for a second and say, like, hey, this is something that you can think about, because I know a lot of people don't know a ton about this realm that is on the other side of Ethereum's coin, and it's quite awesome. So I wanted to show you guys that for a second, but also going over some current APYs. Tron 5%, Cosmos is 10%, Tezos 7%, Algo 7%, EOS 1.2 or 1.7 to 2, Rune 4.95. Some great projects. I don't own all these projects. I'm coming you out there right now. These are just some for example purposes. I will tell you which ones I do own. I own Cardano. I stake Cardano. I stake Cosmos, and I believe that's the only two I have on here. I do not do any of the other projects. That does not mean they're bad projects at all. That just means I haven't had the time to research them and really get the full trust from them in my equity to put my money in there. That's simply it. Is that every coin that you may not own is not a bad coin. Please remember that. Absolutely, it's just something that you may not be fully educated on, because I'm not fully educated on all these projects either. There's so many projects, guys. Like, there's hundreds of them, and a lot of these will not make the cut. That's just 100% truth. So I know that's a difficult thing when finding those right projects, but really doing your due diligence and reading hard and understanding what you're investing in is super duper important. So if you can tell, if you can't, I say if you can't list 3 reasons why you own an asset or a cryptocurrency or a project, then you shouldn't really be owning it. That's just my personal opinion. That's usually what I do. And if I lose those 3 points, or like, let's say the project changes that I don't want it to, then that's a good indicator that you can move projects as well. You don't always have to sit there and be completely devoted to a project that you don't believe in. Absolutely. Awesome, guys. So how do I get started with DeFi? Now, this is the real fun part. This is my advice. Of course, not financial advice. I got to put that out there. If you are brand new, start with DeFi. I would start with some DeFi blue chips, and we're going to go over some DeFi blue chips and learn the ins and outs of these dApps. Once you feel comfortable and experiment, you can start looking into their ecosystem. So let's go to CoinGecko and let's go to the DeFi part. Oof, that is some bright stuff. We don't want that. That's bright. Alrighty. So I'm going over to what are DeFi blue chips in my opinion? My considered blue. These are just my opinion. My DeFi blue chips consist of Uniswap, Chainlink, AVEE, those 3 there. I like synthetics. Yearn Finance, I own Yearn Finance as well. I like synthetics. I don't own synthetics though. Scrolling down, there's a lot of them that have been bumped around just in terms of just from market capitalization. But right now, I believe, yeah, those are my only 4, or I believe I listed 4. Those are my couple right there. Okay, the rest of them I do not know enough about to trust, so let me repeat that. I do Uniswap, Chainlink, AVEE. I like Synthetics and Yearn, so I guess only 4. I guess for me, only 4. Those are my 4 tips for DeFi blue chips, and I will think about a separate video explaining some of these or going over other projects. I got a text from a good buddy that he wanted some deeper explanation. A lot of these smaller coins or these other still so phenomenal coins. I'm a huge Chainlink guy, guys. Like I love Chainlink. My gosh, it makes my job so much easier. For just to get nerdy for a second, Chainlink Oracle is Chainlink is an Oracle producing project, and they're able to pull live data and analytics from such things such as price action, or for the health insurance game, like pulling medical docs, or just overall just being able to pull live data in smart contracts. Because one thing about smart contracts is that you have to be able, the information has to be in the repository, and it has to be available to you locally for you to pull that sort of data. So I can't go and pull Ethereum's live price data since it's not in my local repository. But Chainlink makes that possible, being able to pull live data from live Oracle networks and put them together without me having to have them locally, which is actually so cool. I think that's so awesome. So going back to our PowerPoint, guys, just to keep it moving here. Those are some DeFi blue chips, and those are some things that I think, those are some projects I think people should be looking at. Uniswap is the biggest DEX on the Ethereum ecosystem. It's been that way for a while. You remember when Uniswap rolled out, in the summertime of DeFi summer last year. It was big. It was really big. Yearn Finance is another one that we can definitely cover. I don't think we have time for that, but that's a little bit more in depth. But alrighty, guys, you guys are hanging in there. You guys are hanging in there. I really appreciate that. So if you're confident in ETH, you're essentially hopeful on DeFi. Allocating small percentage of your portfolio to experiment with DeFi will lead to some significant capital in the future. Just my thoughts. That's just kind of what those are my thoughts. Absolutely. I'm by no any means a Bitcoin maximalist or Ethereum maximalist. We're here for the technology, by the way. For anyone, if you're talking to any family or friends, if they ask you about cryptocurrency, and like, oh, why do you invest? Why are you trusting these projects? Versus all this. Those dog coins are fun. A lot of these projects are fun. They have good names and funny bios and funny project leaders and stuff. But ultimately, guys, the reason I'm here and I do this is because of technology. Blockchain technology is something that will change the world and will continue to change the world and give us that edge that we need as people. It really is phenomenal. But once you understand the technology, which most of you guys do, that's why you're here. It makes the incentive so much stronger for you to continue moving and to not be startled by these price action movements and news and all this other FUD that goes around all the time. The technology is what we're here for, guys. We're not here for the projects. It's the technology. So, alrighty, guys. So let's generate some passive income, guys. Let's do this. So this is something I want to break down real quick before we clock out of here, because we actually are towards the end of our video, 32 minutes. So you guys are some serious troopers. I'm gonna do some timestamps before I upload this, so you guys can hop around and you guys don't have to sit through the whole one. If you can just go to parts that you want to go to. So first, Metamask extension. Let me just since I already have it installed, I don't think I'm gonna go through a whole setup video. But first, you go to Google Chrome Store, go to extensions, look up Metamask. They got a nice real guide for you right here. Really 1, 2, 3 step direction. It goes through everything that you need to know to set it up. It goes right in your browser, right in the corner. And once you get everything set up, it's going to look something like this. You can add tokens, pretty much almost anything. I know Bitcoin is not accepted, but wrapped Bitcoin is. Not to get too confusing, Ethereum network only supports ERC20, and ERC20 tokens is not Bitcoin. But what you can do is you can wrap your Bitcoin in ERC20, and it's called wrap Bitcoin. It's the exact same thing. It just makes it eligible on the network for you to do. So just wanted to throw that out there as well, just for those who may be confused if that's something you want to do. But the MetaMask breakthrough is awesome. Once you get this set up, you're able to receive Ethereum or any other cryptocurrency in your browser, and you can send that off to whatever wallet you need to, such as the Atomic wallet we saw, your Coinbase wallet, your Voyager wallet, your Binance wallet, anything you need to send. And also you can use purchases on here for MetaMask for NFTs, metaverse stuff such as Decentraland, all those games like that. It's phenomenal. So MetaMask is a great tool to have, and it's a great wallet. I've been using it for quite a while now, and I think you guys should definitely too. So, and also moving over from MetaMask, going down to exchanges. You got Coinbase, Voyager. Buying assets such as Ether, USDC as possible, sending those funds to MetaMask wallet when all connected, and you can bridge those assets from MetaMask to staking pool or lending out. So for you to do that, if you wanted to, start doing liquidity pools or anything, so Matic is really good. Matic is a Polygon works with the Ethereum network, giving. Here, let's sign this real quick so I can just kind of do this for example purposes. So same thing here. Once you connect, the MetaMask is really the whole loop, guys. Once you get the MetaMask set up, you can start diving into this relentlessly. I would say, take your time, put your toes in here very lightly, really learn a lot of these projects and liquidity pools and developers and projects before you really hop in here head first. I'm just speaking from trial and error, guys. Like when I was younger, I had, of course, I was young. I didn't, the greed was a lot heavier back then. I've lost some money, on MetaMask and, through liquidity pools and other things. It's just a trial and error experience, just because I wasn't reading protocols correctly. I wasn't reading the white papers. I wasn't, I was trusting people, in these pools a little bit too much. And I didn't understand exactly what I'm explaining to you guys right now. So I didn't really have all that crazy education, when I first kind of got into this. So it's important. Not important, but just to give you guys, that heads up, education is just super important. So just be wary, nothing sketchy or anything like that. Like I don't, you're not gonna get rug pulled in liquidity pools. Of course, I don't, there are protocols against that, but just to throw that out there, just so you guys aren't disappointed with your APY or, your, maybe you don't have enough gas fee to cover the gas fee, so that, to have enough in there so you can send your transaction fully through and so on. That's just there's just some small things to, watch. There are some small eggshells around that you could step on, but they're easily avoidable. They're right. They're in the white light. Absolutely. So awesome, guys. So that is great. So and also I believe we still got some other slides before we go off here, and then we're gonna go over to BlockFi real quick. So for those who don't want to go through the liquidity pool hoops and do everything like that, we have something called BlockFi. BlockFi, in simpler terms, before we dive into that, the BlockFi interest account, a BIA, is an interest-bearing account which provides market lending yields to crypto investors who store their cryptocurrency in BlockFi. Clients can deposit crypto and they will be paid monthly compounding interest. Your interest begins acquiring the day after you deposit. Interest payment goes out the first day of each business, the first goes out by the first business day of each month. And then we're going to hop into the website here in a second, kind of just give that brief overview. 40% of 73,000. Whoops, I'm sorry, that was for something else, guys. So sorry, I didn't even mean to read that, but I'll get to that in a second. But 40. So let's say you had 73,000 in there. You took 29K as profit, placed that in BlockFi for 8.6% APY on USDC stablecoin. Let's go and see that real quick, just so we can see the magnitude. I think I did this for a other comparison video once. That's why it was somewhat odd. So let's go to, just so you got 29,000 in there, just for obvious respect. Let's say you got that in there just for, like 2 years. That's pretty nice, So just for you having 29,000 for your $29,000 in there, you're earning a total of $5,202 of interest paid. So you're making $5,000 off $29,000, and you're also making USD per year. You're making $2,000 of interest a year. For those who may not understand fully how great that is, or like how great of a yield that is, traditional finance, your average saving account is about 0.30. So you are losing more money, and I'm gonna get a little ranty here for a sec, just because this is such an amazing tool, and we know this with inflationary coming and inflationary issues, that you're keeping your money in a savings account and not having them in assets and hedges against how much money we've printed and what we know is to come here very soon. You are losing more money over a year keeping your dollar in your bank account. Those savings accounts are not keeping up interest wise with enough demand to keep your money up and continuing to make it valuable. And even if it still was, you're pretty much breaking even. So this is where BlockFi can come in. So USDC plays a role of giving you 8.6% on your stable coins, no fluctuation for right now, for until that is lessened. We've seen BlockFi, and I'm gonna I talk about BlockFi very positively because I've been using them for quite a while, and I've had a couple of good friends and colleagues come to BlockFi and they've loved it too. And this is why I do preach it a good amount, is because it helps. It really is a great tool, and it's simpler in terms of not having to go through the liquidity pool issues and having to send a MetaMask and send a liquidity pool, then loop through the protocol of the liquidity pool, and then stake that in there, and then if you need to pull that out, then you got to do the three steps again, and then you got to do the same thing. So, there are pros and cons when it comes to centralization and decentralization. The decentralization, you're going to have, that anonymous, that real, no if, say, or so people can do so. With BlockFi, on the other hand, I know I just preached a ton about decentralization. This is centralized, so they, there are tax forms. They will know how much money you're putting in. They will know, what's to come, when you're coming in, when you're coming out, but that is not always a bad thing. We've talked about how regulation is not a bad thing in this space. We knew that we needed this regulation to come into next space, and it's not like these centralized exchanges like BlockFi are coming into BlockFi and trying to rework the works. You now have two different avenues of what you can do. You can do both. I do both. I do yield farming and DeFi, and I also do BlockFi. There's no stretch and capitalization as to what you can do in this market. You can do anything you would like to do. If you want to be a validator, you can go be a validator. You may need a certain amount of that asset, but that's something you can work towards. That's easily something you can achieve. I know an Ethereum validator, I know it's a little bit expensive now, but 16 to 32 ETH is what it takes to be a node validator. And all that means being a node validator is that when we move to proof of stake, is that you can start validating transactions passively, and you won't have to be at your computer. You're not gonna have to be here to do these validations. So all you're doing is basically you're using your computer as an EVM machine, a virtual machine, and it's processing validators, and you're staking your Ethereum. So staking is just locking up your Ethereum in the protocol, or I'm sorry, Ethereum is just locking up your Ethereum in the ecosystem, and that just proves that you trust the ecosystem enough, to continue to thrive and do its thing, and it rewards you for that. You're making money doing nothing, and same here, just like this, just with something as small as this. So continuing to go through BlockFi's website, I'll link my my referral link down there if that's something you guys want to use. Of course, don't feel pressured to use it or anything. If you have another friend who wants to use it, or you got family or anything, definitely use that. I'm just doing this for strictly educational purposes. But they got crypto-backed loans as well, just like decentralized finance does as well. Trading accounts, BlockFi interest. They got a ton of different services, that of course, refer a friend, company backings. BlockFi is very credible, guys. They've got They've got some really big back people behind them. They got Winklevoss twins. They got Gemini. They got some really big sponsorships to back them up. And not only that, they've proved themselves, at least in my eyes. This was one test that I thought was really, really important. When we were in March and we had our March crash, that was truly the test to see how well these guys were going to do. And these guys killed it, versus all the mayhem when we were coming towards March time, getting towards our lockdown, and people were just pulling out money left and right. It was just bloody week, week after week. And, next thing you know, we hit that March bottom, and people had pulled out so much liquidity, and they had so much traffic and volume, and that it just seemed like, how are they going to keep up with this? But they did. They really did. Not saying these guys are all perfect. They did have a little bit of issues a couple weeks back, where they, not any of their customers' crypto, but they did send out from their personal vault, Bitcoin to people that wasn't supposed to be. But, people are going to have mistakes. But in terms of, how their good outweighs their error, that is definitely a thumbs up in my book. Their good outweighs all their errors by far. So I just really wanted to throw this out here, and I know this was a longer video, guys, like literally 42 minutes as I'm looking at the chart right now, but I think this is amazing information that I think a lot of people will have to know eventually. But if you choose to understand this now, it's basically getting ahead front in the race. Like, you're starting, it's like the turtle versus the hare. Like, you are so in front of the pack. By the time the whole big crowd gets here, you're already off. You're either already off teaching people like I'm teaching you right now, or you are, or just telling you, or you're or you're just doing something great. If you're here right now, you're already so much ahead of the curve. So thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys sitting through this right now. Any questions, comments, concerns? I know I may have been a little jumpy. There was a lot of information that we had to cover. This was overall really just I just wanted to get it on the table and make this available for you guys, just for you to take your own avenue and learn. I'm going to be here for any questions. Comment, like, subscribe, join the Patreon, do anything you need to do. I'm going to be here. I know this is I'm going to be here to help. I'm not going to just leave you guys after this video, of course. But thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Share this with friends or family, anyone you think that is going to be interested in this. And you guys have a great week. I will see you guys on Tuesday, okay? Thanks so much. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.